we're so much more powerful than we believe ourselves to be. But we're also so much more powerful than we give ourselves permission to be. We're in our own way. The only reason that we don't have the life experiences that we truly desire to have is because we don't allow ourselves to have them. It's not because they're not being presented to us. They're always presented to us. We make choices that would perhaps prevent them from being the experience that they could be, or being the experience that we'd like them to be. We've got to get out of our own way and really understand that we have this opportunity through our choices to live the life of our desires. And what I do in my coaching is help people understand that, get clear on not what you want in life, but who you are. And when you have a clear understanding of who you are and you get clear on what you're capable of doing, what you're able to do and what you eventually do is beyond what you could have imagined. And so the coaching I do, I call it life coaching, L.I.F.E. Life is the acronym for living in full expression. Pretty much everything I do now, my writing and my coaching and my speaking, is around this whole idea of living in full expression, life, L-I-F-E. So when you see things on my coaching, it's life coaching, living in full expression. I help people get to that place where they move beyond the boundaries they put around themselves, or the container that they put themselves in. And I help them get outside of that, realizing that there's so much more beyond those boundaries than what they've held within them. When I talk to people, and it could be people I'm coaching, it could be, again, people at a workshop, seminar that I'm doing, one thing that I find is that I'll ask them, are you satisfied with where your life is? Are you content? And while I want people to be content, I don't want them to be so content they're not willing to take steps to move beyond the boundaries that we've all established around ourselves. But I want them also to understand that there is more to life than what any of us have experienced at this particular moment in time. And I'll ask them, I'll say, well, what is it you want to do that you haven't done? What is it that you feel that's something within you that's trying to work its way out, that's trying to be fully expressed? And through that expression, it's going to be your experience of it. What is it? What is it in you? Is there something in you? And everybody says there is. They can't quite put their finger on it. They don't really get or understand, well, why am I having that? And all too often, that inspiration that they get, they're looking at it as being, well, that's just something that my mind is coming up with. It's I can't make any money doing that, therefore I'm not going to follow it, or there's no benefit to that to anybody, and maybe it will benefit me, but that's pretty much where it goes. Well, here's what I learned when I was writing my book. I got to a point where I was really having difficulty writing, and it wasn't because I didn't have things to write. It was because I was struggling with the whole idea of who am I to have something that should be important enough to put in a book that people would actually pay money for, that people would actually go to the store and buy or get online. Why do I think I have something that would be of benefit to people? And so I would struggle with that, and I would write, and then I would stop writing, and I'd beat myself up over it, and I really had a difficult time with it. And what I do when I'm going through an experience like that is I get quiet. And I typically get quiet by going out in the mornings, and I walk every morning about 5:30, 6 o'clock. It's usually very dark out. And I've come to call those times being immersed in the silence of the dawn. And for me, it's just total connection. I'm connected to source, whatever you want to call that. I'm just connected to nature. It's just me, it's whatever animals might be. There's an occasional person that might walk or run by, but it's just me. And again, it's dark. The stars are out most of the time. And I'll ask questions when I'm having a particular situation that I'm not able to work through. If I have a dilemma that I'm just struggling with. And this was the case this particular morning when I had been writing my book, and I was struggling with, why am I writing this? What's the purpose behind this? And not only that, but so many people have written on this topic before. Why do I feel that mine's going to be any different than that? Why do I feel that my voice is going to lend anything more to that particular topic than what everybody else has already said? So when I go through this situation, this experience of being immersed in the silence of the dawn, I ask questions and I get responses pretty quickly. And this particular morning I was asking about, why am I writing this? What's the purpose behind this? And immediately what I got was that you wouldn't be inspired to do something if it wasn't intended to be. You wouldn't be inspired to do something if it wasn't intended to be. And I'm thinking about that and I'm going, to me that was a very profound statement. Yeah, why am I given that inspiration? Why are any of us given the inspirations? There's got to be something behind it. So I grabbed hold of that phrase, that quote that I was given. And as I was writing my book, whenever I had that time where I was struggling, that would come into my mind. You wouldn't have been inspired to write this book if it wasn't intended to be. And I would keep writing. Now, that didn't stop me from having those struggles. So what happened was I got a second part of the quote a little bit later on. And the second part of the quote was that if it is intended to be, all for it to be will be provided. So once you recognize and understand that this intention that you have, this whatever it is that's desiring to be fully expressed, it's intended for you. And if it's intended for you, you've got to allow it to be expressed. And as you allow it to be expressed, everything you need is going to be given to you to allow that expression to take place and for you to have the experience of it. As you live your life in full expression, are you willing to live your life intentionally? Or are you going to live your life based on what shows up? Based on the situations and circumstances that happen to be there in that day, in that morning when you wake up? Are you going to wake up in the morning and are you going to say, today, this is what I'm going to do? This is what my experience is going to be. Actually, the question to ask is, what experience of myself do I want to have today? What experience do I want to have of the expression that I have within me that I can share with the rest of the world? Am I going to live intentionally today, or am I just going to live by default, by what shows up? It's a question I really believe that you need to answer. Ask yourself that question. Answer the question. It's not a question you answer one time. It's a question you answer every day. Am I living intentionally? Am I taking charge of my life? Am I living in full expression of who I know myself to be?